Good afternoon. Today I would like to show you the basic rules for drawing Lewis structures by going through an example with you in HCN, or hydrogen cyanide. Step 1 is to draw the skeleton of the molecule, or how you think it may be bonded together. In this case it's pretty clear. We have a hydrogen, a carbon, and a nitrogen. It's written that way in the molecule for a reason. Step 2 is to count the number of valence electrons that HCN has. Hydrogen has one valence electron because it's in the first group. Carbon has 4 valence electrons because it's in the fourth group if you don't count the transition metals. And nitrogen carries with it 5 valence electrons. In total, this molecule then will have 1 plus 4 plus 5, or 10 valence electrons. Which means we have 10 electrons to move around this molecule in order to satisfy the next few steps. Step 3 is adding a bonding pair of electrons in between every 2 atoms. Or in this case, hydrogen and carbon need to be bonded together, so we have to put 2 electrons there. Carbon and nitrogen have to be bonded together, so we put 2 electrons there. Step 4 is to add the rest of your electrons to the outer atoms until they satisfy the octet rule. Hydrogen is an exception to the octet rule. It only needs 2 electrons around it, and it already has that, so that's done. Nitrogen, on the other hand, needs 8 to satisfy the octet rule. We've already put down 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons. Let's put down 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We now have 10 electrons here, the number that we need in the molecule. Step 5 is to make sure that all of your atoms satisfy the octet rule by the end. In this case, hydrogen does, nitrogen does, but carbon does not. Carbon needs 8 electrons around it. We're out of electrons. We can't just add more. We have to move some from an adjacent atom. In this case, nitrogen has plenty of electrons around it that it may be willing to share. So let's move these 2 electrons here. Nitrogen still has 8 electrons around it, but now carbon has 6. That still isn't enough for carbon. It needs 2 more. Let's move these 2 electrons in the bond as well. Nitrogen still has 8 electrons around it. 2, 4, 6, 8. Carbon now has 8 electrons around it. 2, 4, 6, 8. And hydrogen has its 2. All of the atoms satisfy the octet rule. We use the correct number of valence electrons. And this Lewis structure is almost done. The last step, which is purely a style issue, is that we usually replace each bonding pair of electrons with a simple line to show a bond. Or in the case of this triple bond, we will show it as 3 lines. And this is the completed Lewis structure for HCN.